Yep.
Now, let's go back to the Craig Thomson issue, and we talk about whether or not the guy will crack it. But the issue, I guess, here is in guilt or innocence. And how long would it take anyway, in normal circumstances, to determine that?
A pretty long time.
Yeah, it should take a long time. In fact, and I do not want anyone to misread this as me wanting to stick up for Craig Thomson, but if he is convicted and sentenced before this Parliament is up, then something has gone wrong. Because for something of this order of magnitude, if you get the legal system working that quickly, you'd have to suspect that there was a political judgment made to speed it up. And one of the reasons why I'm uncomfortable about this thing is not the particulars of the particular case, because I think there's a lot of sleaze here and it probably should be outed. But the idea that Parliament, whether it's an opposition shadow minister or whether a government minister may be able to do this in another circumstance, is able to bring the police in and escalate something which is at the moment in the political arena, with an investigation already going from Fair Work Australia, to be able to call the police in to increase the pressure on a political opponent. Separation of powers is a bit blurred here.
Well, but perhaps whenever any politician now in the future is accused of rorting their allowances, go straight to the police. That's got to be the answer.
This overlooks the essential flaw here. The Health Services Union is a registered organisation. Workfare Australia is a statutory agency. It is empowered to supervise registered organisations. I've worked in this department 25 years ago. I know how they work, and often they work extraordinarily slowly. Nothing gets done. This issue was referred by the union to what is now Workfare Australia 2.5 years ago, and nothing has happened. How long does it take to do this kind of investigation? The reason why everyone's in this current predicament is that Workfare Australia didn't do its job in a normal time. If I took 2.5 years to do that kind of inquiry, or if you did, Barry, we'd be out of our jobs.
I think that's an
it's
absolutely...
only Commonwealth Public Service.
I think that's an absolutely right on point.
Well, then it would never got to the police.
And the issue is that Fair Work Australia have two sets of powers, if you like. They have an initial set of powers to start what they call an inquiry, which doesn't enable them legally to compel evidence from anyone, and if they're satisfied after doing that they can investigate, they can upgrade it to an investigation where they do have compulsory powers. It took them a very long time to even get to that first bar where they could start compelling evidence. But the fascinating thing about all of this is that my understanding is they didn't have a lot of the detail which is now that emerged essentially out of the action that Craig Thomson took in pursuing defamation action against Fairfax.
If you don't have the detail, you issue a report and say the union wouldn't give you the detail and you make a decision. But this would have gone on forever.
Well, some of that information I don't believe the union had at the time about things like, my understanding is that the union had the statements from the bank, which basically had the listing of all the charges, but they didn't have the chits from the brothels with the signature that looks remarkably like Craig Thomson's and his credit card number on the back of it.
Well, if that's the case, all Welfare Australia has to say they can't get the evidence. I mean, you just don't sit on it forever, and what you're dealing with here... Look, this is the old culture of the Industrial Relations Club has returned. But if you're going to have a regulated industrial relations system with registered organisations, they have to obey their laws, and someone should ensure that they are doing it. So what you've got on the one hand is more regulation in the industrial relations system, except when it gets nasty and everyone gets upset, and then you don't make a decision, and you make a decision by not making a decision. And this would have gone on for ages. And eventually the union got upset about it, and it was the union, not the government, it was the union that referred the matter to the New South